Hey guys, it is your AIWF and your FWE Women's Champion Clara here, and you're watching Drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinking at Moe's. Host Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, get that out of the way because YouTube algorithm's a pain in the ass. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor. You can find us just about anywhere. Today, I have with me somebody tearing it up on the Mid-Atlantic area scene. Clara, how the hell are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, getting things going, getting ready for the holiday season. I know you've had some pretty big shows here recently. I think a lot of people heard about a WrestleCade. That ended up being pretty huge. People coming in from all over the place.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was my first WrestleCade, my first time attending, first time ever being involved with one. I've never been to one before. So it was very cool to be able to have my first one, and I have a table and I get to wrestle. So that was very awesome.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, I've been a part of some kind of smaller kind of fan fest events. Got to be a part of one for, I can't see it on stream, but I'm wearing the Warrior Wrestling. They've been doing some big things and invited me down when they were in St. Louis. So that was pretty fun. Felt a little bit out of my league because I had just started doing this. But one thing I like to talk about with each of my guests before we get back into a little more of WrestleCade is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, wanting to make the jump into the business.
So ever since I can remember, wrestling has always been on the TV because I'm the middle child. I have one older brother and one younger brother. So if I wanted to hang out with them, I had to do whatever they wanted to do, and they always wanted to watch wrestling. So it was always on the TV and it was just always around me. And so they wanted to be wrestlers when they grew up. So of course I did too, but they grew out of it and I didn't. And when I graduated high school, I didn't really have any interest in going to college or anything. So I just moved to Tennessee for 3 months to train. And now I'm living the dream.
That's awesome. And, you have a couple belts behind you there, and I know you, and correct me if I'm wrong because I've been kind of busy lately, you at least were the AIWF Women's Champ. You still hold on to that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And a lot of people might not really know too much about the AIWF, because I'm somewhat familiar because I have two friends that at one point were the AIWF tag champs. So when they got into that, the AIWF kind of reminded me of like old school NWA, how it was a whole bunch of promotions kind of working together. What's it been like being the women's champ for them?
It's honestly been really cool. There isn't a lot of women that want to go over there, so it's been kind of hard getting some matches, but it's been really cool to revitalize their women's division because their last champion, love her, but she wasn't really there a lot, and I'm there at every show. So I'm just hoping to bring some prestige back to that championship.
And I have full confidence you'll do that. There's plenty of female talent out there, and I mean becoming more common, all female shows. Not all that long ago, you were a part of, was it the Ladies Night Out Gauntlet?
Yeah.
That I'll admit I hadn't been able to watch it. I think it's on what Title Match
Network. Yeah.
Title Match Network. Yes, I need to get on that because just the concept of a gauntlet match for an all women's show, it's kind of cool because you see gauntlet matches and you're mostly thinking tag team guys domain, and then getting that in there for a female show when there's certain promoters out there that seem to think that there's not enough female talent out there to carry a show. Billy Corgan. But but then there's people out there that, like the people that put on that show, that are proving them wrong.
Mm-hmm. Right. The gauntlet match, it was kind of weird. I was ready to go in there and whoop some ass. I was really hoping for like an actual traditional gauntlet match, but there was just so many girls and so little time that it ended up turning into a Royal Rumble type thing. It was like really weird, but overall it was a good experience. And I'm going to be involved with Ladies Night Out a lot more in the future. So it was fun. It was a good experience. It was a hell of a show too. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get my eyes on that. And good to know that, there's promotions out there that are taking advantage of the female talent out there. Another show that I saw that I was kind of like, saw some of the names. There's Mr. Hughes, Jimmy Jacobs, Ernest the Cat Miller, and a guy that recently went up against Nick fucking Gage, George South. I mean,
yeah,
some pretty big names on that you shared the card with there. What was that one like?
That was really cool. It's really awesome to be on the card with people that I grew up watching, because I grew up watching Jimmy Jacobs and George South. So it's really cool to be able to sit with them and pick their brain and have them watch my matches and give me critiques and stuff like that. It's such a mind-boggling experience, because I never thought that I'd be in the same room with them, let alone be colleagues with them. So it's just really cool.
Oh, I can imagine. I know I mentioned when I went to Warrior Wrestling and was a part of their fan fest, and some of the people that I got to run into through that were people that, like you said, I didn't know I'd ever be able to be anywhere near them, let alone, heck, some of them sitting right across the aisle from. I got to meet Jonah, who's doing big things over there in Japan.
Yeah.
Jeff Cobb, who one of my personal favorites right now. I'm actually getting to chat with him. I was right across the fan fest aisle from Mike Bennett. So it's pretty cool when you get the chance to, be involved in something that, people that, I mean, you're watching currently, or people you grew up watching. Like, I've heard some interesting stories about Ernest the Cat Miller. Was he was pretty pleasant to deal with?
Yeah, I didn't really interact much with him because the women's locker room is obviously separate from the men's, so I didn't really get much interaction with him, but he was overall a great guy.
Yeah, I've heard definitely some pleasant things. Kind of going back to a little bit of WrestleCade, you mentioned it was your first one, and getting to have the table, and good Lord, some of the names that were there. I know I listened to a lot of Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp and his stuff. I remember hearing he was there, walking around. Lord knows who he was talking to. What was that whole weekend like? You mentioned it being cool, it being your first one. what were some of your memories from, that weekend and people you got to be around?
Well, I didn't really get to interact with a lot of the people that I wanted to because I had to be at my table for the time that they were at theirs. But just seeing them like walk by our table was so crazy. Like seeing Sammy Callahan walk by and then come and shake my hand. I was like, whoa. Because I remember I was in middle school watching him. I was like, this is so weird. But that whole weekend was just really crazy because I'm in a room with people that I grew up idolizing. So it was like I had to keep pinching myself a lot of the time. Like, is this real?
Oh, man, I can imagine, you brought up Callahan. He runs a promotion that, other than WrestleMania weekend, seems to kind of flip-flop between Ohio and Iowa, Wrestling Revolver. And I've been able to, in passing, talk with him a little. And I actually just had on their ring announcer, and that was fun. Those shows in and of itself are amazing. But you mentioned Wrestle Cage, you gotta wrestle some. What was the matches like? Because I know conventions, and the setup they have, sometimes crowds can be a little different because you got all sorts of people coming in.
Mm-hmm. Overall, the matches were great, honestly. I like when you have Colby Carino on your card, of course it's gonna be amazing. And George and Nick Gage obviously stole the show. So the whole the Super Show and the main AML show from top to bottom was phenomenal.
That's awesome. Oh boy, Nick Gage. I need to catch that one, him and George Salz, because I've heard weird about Nick Gage, not anything negative, but it's almost like you hear people when they're behind the scenes, it's one way, they're, just kind of mild mannered. And then that music hits and they're out the curtain. It's like, bam. Mm-hmm. He definitely, oh, shit, there goes a box. But you look at some of his matches and he's very much like that from everything I hear about him behind the scenes. Were you in attendance for that one? You mentioned,
yeah.
I don't know, with having to be at your table or whatever.
Mm-hmm. For that one, I was able to watch in the back, and it was just, it is crazy seeing how he's so to himself. He's super respectful, like one of the most polite people I've ever met in my life. But he's very much to himself, and then he's very quiet. But then once he runs through the curtain, he's like a completely different person. But you need to watch that one. It was a crazy one.
No, I will make it a point to go and watch that one. God, they've been up to some crazy things. God, I know they had their little bit of an issue with IWTV, but now they got their big deal with Fight Plus, and I'll admit I'm that tongue-tied subscribed to that, because I think GCW, and I mentioned this to Kevin Gill, I kind of heard inklings and then really got into watching. It was the Art of War Games cage match when afterwards Moxley beat Cardona for the title. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty wild. Speaking of, I have a couple of categories that I have. I try to name off some, sometimes people that you've shared the ring with, shared the same locker room with, and other times I just try to theme the names to the guests and wanting to highlight female talent. I'm, long story short, without going on rambling, name game, name enough female talent. You give me your thoughts on them.
Okay.
First one, just starting to make things going on a return with AEW, Saraya, however you want to pronounce her name. I mess it up.
I think she's awesome. I met her when I was 16, and she was so sweet. She's one of those girls that stood out, obviously, and I just loved watching her, and it's amazing to see the things that she's doing now, and I'm excited to see what this new path takes her on.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see that myself. And I mean, I've heard some people complain about, oh, she couldn't get cleared by WWE, but it's like, okay, but she got doctors to clear her. So, hey, if she wasn't legit cleared and they were just doing it to get her money or get themselves money, somebody'd be in for a malpractice lawsuit or some shit.
Right.
Next one, she's been around quite a bit. She is definitely my opinion, a workhorse of the WWE women's division, Natalya.
Oh, I love her. She loves Dr. Tom also, and I was trained by Dr. Tom, so he's always pushing us if we're ever in Florida to go and train with her and Tyson Kidd at the dungeon. So I'm really hoping sometime in 2023 I can make my way down there, because that's something that I really want to experience.
Oh, I can imagine getting to spend some time training with those two. I mean, they both had nice careers. Natalya's is still going active in ring. Tyson Kidd's got his deal going with, being a producer, coach, whatever the heck you want to call it. Pretty good people to learn from.
Yeah.
Next one, if she somehow ends up watching this episode, I have to do this correctly because I don't want to catch shit. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
I think she's great. I think she's really good at her job. She's really good at what she needs to do. Yeah, she's phenomenal. She brings eyes to the AEW women's division, so there's nothing really bad we can say about her, because she delivers whenever she needs to deliver.
Oh, yeah. No, that is true. And, the way she kind of took the reins after she got that first AEW women's title run, and the way she just got that ball and ran with it for the amount of time that she had it. Excuse me. She definitely had success and did some great things. Can't argue that. Next one, another one that was away for a little bit with an injury, but is definitely doing some great things now. Actually just won last night from what I remember, Alexa Bliss.
Oh, she's one of my little brother's favorites. I think she's so cute. I think she's great. She's very athletic. She's phenomenal at what she does. She's amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, and nothing wrong with her, I guess, air quotes, fiend character. I don't know, for a lack of a better way to put it, but I wasn't so much of a fan of her then, although, her match is still great. I'm enjoying the way she's going with it now.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, this is just the fan of her and me coming out. I'm hoping, she can at least get into one title picture or the other here soon. But speaking of some of the names that we talked about, before we jump into another section that I have, a lot of people have bucket lists. When Cody Rhodes left the WWE that first time, there was that famous post of, this list he had. He wanted to face this guy. He wanted to go here, do this. If you had a wrestling bucket list, what are some of the things that you would say would be on it as far as like people you'd want to face and that sort of thing?
I definitely want to make my way to Japan. That's always been a goal of mine ever since I was a kid. To wrestle at Cork and Hall is obviously everybody's dream. And then I just want to bring a good name to independent women's wrestling while I'm here, because it has, kind of a bad rap. So whenever I'm in the ring, I just want to make sure that people know that women can hang with the guys, especially on the indies. And of course, main event WrestleMania, everybody wants to do that.
Oh yeah, they always. Oh, who was it? I'm wanting to say. I mean, the person that originated it, I'm wanting to say was Dusty Rhodes, but you hear it all over the place. That if you're not wanting to be that top one, that main event, that headliner WrestleMania, whether. I mean, even if you don't necessarily want to go to WWE, you want to be the main event of the biggest show. If you're not wanting to be there, then what the heck are you
doing?
Right. Let me see here. Brain fart. We will go on because I was just. You brought up something, then I'm like, damn. We'll move on. Next category that I had. I used to call it a little bit of the speed round, but it never went that damn quick. So I just random question round. I name off, questions. Some might be wrestling related. Some might not be. You answer how you see fit. First one, craziest in-match moment.
Oh my goodness. Just any wardrobe malfunction. I have thankfully not had one yet, but I have been in the ring with girls who have had one, and it's just kind of like, oh, what happens now? Like grab a hole, cover it up real quick.
Oh man, yeah, no, I can imagine being in the ring and that going down at like, okay, how can we get out of this quick?
Yeah.
But man, I think one that I can remember that was actually here rather recently at Sami Callihan's promotion, Jake Chris, Joel Bateman in a death match, and it ended by them bridging 2 panes of glass onto 4 folding chairs, and then Jake Chris' manager came in and lit the glass on fire.
Oh my goodness.
I was standing up, my jaw on the floor right when I saw him get in there and I saw him pull out the lighter fluid. I'm like, no. Yeah. Next one. And like I said, some might be non-wrestling related. This question is kind of highly debated. There's that argument going on all the time. Die Hard, Christmas movie or not?
I've never seen Die Hard.
Nothing wrong with that. The common argument there is the movie takes place during Christmas time. It's a big skyscraper business and they're having a Christmas party and a terrorist takes over the building.
Oh. Well, if there's a Christmas Carol in the movie at any time, it is a Christmas movie.
You know what? That is a good rule to have for it, because obviously Christmas carols go along with Christmas, but I'm wanting to say my whole stance on it, and I could be remembering it wrong, but I seem to remember Bruce Willis, the star of the movie himself, saying that it wasn't a Christmas movie.
Oh, then it's not a Christmas movie.
Next one, dog or cat person?
I grew up with both. My fiance has a dog. My mom has a cat. One is more calmer than the other. Sometimes I want some peace and quiet, so sometimes I prefer the cat. Other times when I want to have fun, I prefer the dog.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of a bit of, in the middle myself. My wife and I do have some dogs, and we do have a couple cats. So the cats seem to stay away from me for the most part, with the exception of one that seems to like to follow me everywhere. One last question for this category: best advice for anybody getting into wrestling?
For women especially, get in a ring as much as you can. Just because you graduate doesn't mean you're done training. A lot of people think that once they graduate, then like they don't need to go to any training sessions anymore. Yeah. Be in a ring as much as you can be. When I grew up competing in jiu-jitsu, and my coach told me, because I would get discouraged a lot because I'd have to compete against guys because there wasn't a lot of girls. And he would always tell me it doesn't matter how fast, how strong, or how big you are. If you aren't putting the time in on the mat, then you're nothing. Mm-hmm. So that always stuck with me, and be in a ring as much as possible.
Oh yeah, no, and you hear a lot of people talk about how nothing prepares you more for a match than being in the ring, practicing, training, and especially I just remembered that one question I was going to ask a little bit ago, so we will kind of go into it here. But especially in a world where, there might not be as many, female on female matches being available, there are some people that get thrown into intergender matches. And just like a lot of different forms of wrestling, there's people that like it and there's the detractors. And I don't know, and I'll get your stance on it, but the way I look at it is we all want equality. We want equal playing field. So what better way for anybody to prove that they can get in there with the best than to, if you believe that two people can have a good match together, regardless of gender, boom, throw them in there. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, hey, you want equality, that's one hell of a way to do it. What would you say your opinion is on that?
So I was trained by Dr. Tom, and he's very old school. So he likes intergender wrestling if it makes sense and if it's done right. Yeah. So I'm very iffy. I haven't had to do that many yet. I'm open to do them. At AIWF, I've reached a point where I'm like, literally just give me a bunch of guys and I'll just I'll wrestle them at this point. But yeah, I always kind of have him in the back of my head. Like, is this going to look good? Is it going to make sense? Or is it going to make you look good? Is it going to make the other guy look good? Like, I just always have that in the back of my head.
No, man. I mean, he's a good guy to have there. And one thing I wanted to bring up before we kind of wrap things up, you and your fiance part of the Fighters Club. I like the look of it. He has that that MMA fighter look in the pro wrestler world that I dig. I told him I dig the intensity, people that have that intensity. And I definitely get that feeling with the Fighters Club. Where did the idea for that come up? And, how are things going with that?
It came up very organically, I feel like, because when I started training at AML, Jack and David were already there. And I noticed Jack immediately because of his ears. I was like, oh, he did MMA. And then that's how we started talking. And I grew up doing jiu-jitsu and amateur wrestling. And we all just kind of like hung out and stuck together. And then at AIWF, we all made a group together, and now we're just carrying it on to everywhere else. So it happened very organically because all three of us are best friends and we hang out all the time. So it just happened naturally.
And sometimes those are the ones that, you know, tend to stand the test of time. You know, the groups that, you know, just came in organically. They're already good friends, and you hear about it all the time with, you know, DX, NWO. They came in friends, and then the chemistry they had just kind of made it work.
Yeah.
Well, my dogs are looking like they are about ready to have to go do their business outside. So, one, want to take the time to thank you for talking to me tonight. Thank you. Two, where can people find you social media wise so they can, you know, get their eyes on the AIWF Women's Champ?
I mainly post on Instagram. Sometimes I post on Facebook whenever I remember. But on Instagram, I am at Clara Wrestling. And this weekend also I want to plug, I will be wrestling at the Dorton Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, for FWE. I'm not defending my championship, but I am in a tag team match with Angelina Love, and we are wrestling Camille Brickhouse and Caitlin Alexis, I believe is her name.
Oh, dang. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I found out about it like 2 nights ago, so I'm very excited for the weekend.
Hey, understandable. That's a hell of a one to get word on.
Yeah.
Well, I will be sure to post, you know, Instagram in the description. Like I said, thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. You are welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much.